All right, folks, I am here with Tom, the Master and Commander, the General, the Generalissimo of Brickskrieg. If you've seen this, you will have seen this online at some point, but for those who aren't in the know and are under a little tiny, wonderful plastic rock, what is this all about and what you guys are doing?
Well, essentially, it's born out of a mixture of my being extremely tight and very bad at painting. So when I decided I wanted to get back into wargaming in my 40s, and had given away all of my previous wargaming stuff to grandchildren, nephews, nieces, and I thought, well, how can I relatively cheaply create an army and just get playing without all the modelling and the painting, which I was never very good at, to be honest. So I came across this idea of building a tank to this scale using bricks, and as a result, I thought, well, I wonder if I can make more things out of those bricks. So I started designing bits and pieces, playing around with them, and then fighting with them using some really simple made-up rules. And that was how Brickskrieg was born. And ever since then, people have seen them and said, where do you get those from? So here we are at UK Games Expo. So
what forces and sort of what's available from you guys at the moment then?
Well, so far we've done the Germans, the British and the US. Our original starter set has the Germans and the British, enough to have a battle between the two. We're releasing at this expo the Eastern Front box set, so that's the first introduction of our Russians. So we're quite excited about that. One of the most common questions I get is, when are the Russians coming?
When are the Russians coming?
Yeah, with some enthusiasm, which is not how you'd normally expect that question to be asked. So really delighted to be launching that for pre-order this weekend. So they will add to the mix, and then later on this year, going into next year, we will be launching our Africa campaign. So the beauty of using just slightly different colour bricks.
Yes, perfect. For those people who want to know a little bit more about the sort of game mechanics and stuff that you guys use, sort of how does it sort of flow? What's the kind of like typical game turn and stuff?
Well, we've created really, really simple rules, designed really to go with the really simple models. And people do use all sorts of different rule sets with it. Ours is very much a turn-based, so one side goes, other side goes. We use a very basic light, medium and heavy for armour and guns. And it's a move, shoot, combat, rally. So it's very traditional. It's the way wargame rules were when I was a little boy.
When you're playing on the floor, on the carpet, and that was your battlefield.
And it still is. They take the mick out of me for having essentially rugs for battlefields all the time.
It's how it should go.
Because in the 80s, that's what we did. So,
and obviously, I think I've seen a lot of people play. We've seen the Yogscast obviously playing this with bolt action and all that kind of stuff as well. But it really feels like one of those sort of sets and systems and all that kind of thing. It'll be really nice for those people who've maybe watched a couple of war movies and then think, hey, you know what? I'd like to play with some toys and something to come to you guys and get this stuff, I guess.
Completely. I mean, there's everyone on the scale from, we have some really young fans, which is brilliant, who this is their first step into tabletop gaming and away from the screen, which we love, right the way through to experienced gamers of some advanced years who, again, find they're still able to model and play with this, where maybe they don't have the ability to play with some other things. So it's so wide-ranging. It's been a really pleasant surprise to see how popular it's been.
Has it been like an interesting experience trying to work out how to get the silhouettes of all the vehicles and stuff to kind of match up and things using essentially blocks, I guess?
Completely. I mean, me and Toby, who's not here yet, but is coming, who's sort of our lead designer, and we geek out to an extreme degree to the point of waking up at night that we've suddenly thought of a brick that makes exactly the right shape for the front of whatever vehicle it is we're talking about. So it definitely, from our point of view, randomly, part of the fun is coming up. One of the things that Toby has designed is the Russian mobile rocket launcher on the back of the lorry, which is just brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to it. Again, that was a moment of, I've worked out how to get the rockets on the back of which was brilliant. So thoroughly enjoy it, and some of our followers make amazing things as well. So they buy them and turn them into more amazing things than we could have thought of. So that's a pleasure to see as well.
One of the nice things about it is that you can almost do that kind of destructible nature of it as well. So you can be like, oh no, my tank's destroyed. Boom, it comes apart, which is always fun. That sort of tactile nature to things. And I always love the little planes. Every single time I've seen them, I have been obsessed with the planes. And you have to make the noises when you move them around. Absolutely. And you have to do the shooty gun sounds and the tank sounds and everything as well.
Yeah, well, my wife does refer to the entire thing as your pew-pews.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
It really is that grown up.
So if people want to come and find out a little bit more about Brickskrieg, where can they find you? They find you online on social media and all that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, absolutely, Ali does all of our social social media. So we've got just off shot. Ali does all of our social media. So we've got a presence there. We've got a Discord. Obviously, the website is our main place for selling. And we're just starting to build some really amazing relationships with retailers around the country.
Okay.
So we look forward to it popping up in hopefully your local game stores.
And if people want to come and try the game out here at UK Games Expo, where can they find you? Do you remember your booth number?
Oh, I'm going to look at Ali here.
Do you remember your booth number?
Yeah, we're in Hall 2398 over by the food court.
This is why you have backup, reinforcements. There we go. Yes. So yes, make sure to come and check out Brickskrieg, see what you think of this one for yourself. Obviously, we have a lot of World War II fans and stuff in our community, and this could be a really good opportunity for you to dive into that kind of period of gaming and sort of play it out without having to worry about painting and all that kind of stuff as well. Yeah, even I get tired of that at some point, but yes. Watch the live blog, watch the live stream, and we'll be back with another video very, very soon. Bye for now. Hello there, folks. I'm here with Evelyn of Mighty Boards, and we're going to be talking about 3 excellent-looking games. Where shall we start?
Let's start with Rebirth.
Ooh, yes, go for it.
So Rebirth is a Knizia game. It's a game where you're in a future Scotland that has fallen to ruins, and you as clan leaders are going to be rebuilding your lands.
Okay.
How it plays, it's every time you have like a player stack of tiles, face down, you're going to pick up one of the tiles, and they can be one of 3 things.
Okay.
They can be a settlement, they can be an energy farm, or they can be a food farm.
Okay.
Now on the map, as you can see, for example, this would be food farm signs, this would be settlement signs, and this would be energy farm tiles.
Yep.
Depending on where you place your tile, it's really important because it's a really strategic placement that could score you a lot of points. Because every time you place a tile, you're going to be scoring points. For example, if you manage to make a cluster of yours,
yes.
you're going to score a lot more than if you place one. Now, what is really important about this game is that you see all these beautiful castles on the map.
Yep.
Every castle is going to score you 5 points at the end of the game. So you're going to try to keep your dominance around certain castles, because obviously if someone else takes it, you lose 5 points, right? There's also cathedrals, so the yellow spots on the map are where cathedrals go, which means that if you place a tile for the first time next to a yellow spot, you get one of the cards. Those are objective cards. And if you manage to complete them at the end of the game, you score extra points for those.
And they all have different sort of patterns and layouts that you're looking to try and gain.
Exactly. Now, this is the Scotland side. The other side of the board is Ireland, which is a different...
Love it.
Yeah, which is a different game mode.
Yeah.
So what changes there is that instead of private objectives, you have public ones.
Okay.
So it's more of a race. For example, first player to get there will score more points. And also you will have towers that give you special abilities. Like, for example, you can look at certain tiles or place an extra one. So it adds a little bit more variability to the game as well. So it's 2 to 4 players, plays about 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah. Super easy to explain, as you see, but very thinky to play.
And obviously, because all the tiles are flipped up and they show different things all the time, you're obviously coming up with different strategies and all that kind of thing. Very Knizia. So
Exactly. Yeah, people seem to like it. So it's also available for demos at UKG. So
Brilliant. And then we also have Fateforge as well.
Exactly. So we have Fateforge. Fateforge is actually a game that came out last summer, but here we're showing the new expansion, Kin of the Wild. So the idea of Fateforge is what I call Gloomhaven for working people. So
right. Okay. Yeah.
It's a campaign game that is more accessible. So like usually campaign games take a lot of time and a lot of table space.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we wanted to create one that is actually much more easy to set, like much easier to set up. It all fits into this box, and it plays in sessions of 1 hour. So you can still play 4 hours if you want, but you could just play it like a regular board game.
I like that.
Exactly. So the game has a narrative part, a map exploration part, and a combat part. The map exploration is a little bit like macro, so you're really getting to know the city because the game is set in an existing RPG world by Studio Agat. They've been working in this world for 7 years, so there's a lot of detail and lore to work with.
Lots of depth and all that kind of thing. Different creatures and characters.
Exactly. So we really wanted people to get to know the game. The combat is set. The combat is based on the Vengeance combat system, so it's one of our older games.
Right.
Vengeance had a really popular competitive combat system, and we made it cooperative in a fantasy system now. So how it works is that, like a little bit like an RPG, you would have a certain character, right? For example, the mercenary is more like a tank, the rogue is more of a stealth. There's 5 different ones in the base game, so you choose the kind of hero you want, and then you get to upgrade your character with skills, with weapons, with items. How it works is that every hero comes with its own set of dice, and if you roll a die, it's not just like, for example, that a boot is a move and a knife is a hit, and a miss is a miss. No, like you can see here with the mercenary, like if she rolls a miss, she could turn this miss into a hit and that hit into a double hit. So rolling a miss might actually be really good for you.
So there's a nice element of sort of mitigation of bad luck and that kind of thing, and changing of tactics as well.
Absolutely.
At the same time.
And also because every hero comes with a skill set of about 24 cards. So you can decide how you
really
build your
tailor
skill.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also because the game has 4 different endings. Let's say you really want to replay the game and you want to keep the same character, you could pick different skills next time you play and have a different experience. Yeah. So it's a cooperative game, so you're going to be working together to fight your way through this. Then you have 96 different enemies in the base game, but we have made it a bit easier because we've color coded them, which means, for example, the white ones are always going to be creatures, the blue ones are ranged, the red ones are melee, the green ones are blockers, and the purple ones are leaders.
So you can see at a glance what you're coming up against at the time.
Exactly. Now, always you will have to define player order. Which means there's always one time when the enemies will react as a surprise, you don't know who or what, and then one time at the end of a round they will react based on what's on their enemy cards. So there's a little bit of a, you can plan how the combat would go for you, but obviously based on your dice, based on the reactions, based on a smart judge. So yes, this is the second expansion. The first expansion already came out last year, which added another hero, 10 hours of gameplay. This one adds another 10 hours of gameplay and 6 pet companions. So you have playable pets that will fight with you with their own special abilities that can help you.
As someone who is still playing through Frosthaven, this sounds like a very good antidote to that, because I could sit down and play this over the course of a weekend and have just the same fun with it.
I would say so.
But sort of condense that campaign and have a little bit of...
The base game is between 25 to 30 hours. So yes, that would be your solution.
Maybe I need to get Fate Forge. Anyway, right, yes, sorry. Before I do some shopping, so if people want to come and play these games, they can come and check it out at your stand and everything?
Yeah, so we're at 3634. So we will have Rebirth, Fate Forge, and also Art Society, if people want to try that one as well. They will also be for sale, so... yeah, very welcome to come by.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. That was fantastic. If you want to come and check out more from Mighty Boards, make sure to come and check them out at their stand. Watch our live blog, watch our live stream. We'll be back with another video very, very soon. Bye for now.
Hello everybody, I'm here with Dan from Wrenegade Studios. A first timer as an exhibitor here at UKGE.
Yeah, that's right. It's the first time this side of the table. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you first off the bat, what have you brought with you?
So this is Beyond the Veil. It's a tabletop role-playing game, and it's set in the modern world. So it's about a twist on the modern world where there are paranormal things going on. So that could mean you're investigating aliens, or maybe ghosts, maybe cryptids. But the view on it is it's really narrative-led. So if you're playing a character who, in a certain situation, let's say, I found this piece of rope and I want to swing across this room, they could well do that if it makes sense for them as a person, and the rules will definitely support you in trying that. But if you try that, let's say you roll up a character, you could play as my gran if you wanted to. Grandma definitely couldn't do that, and in that case, the rules are definitely going to fine you, as it were. But the idea is you can do anything you want.
So, first off, I see there's a full set of polyhedral dice there.
Yes.
What's the base mechanics of the system?
I'm glad you asked that. So we have 6 core attributes, like many games, and the idea is you assign one of each of those to each of those attributes. And so inherently each player therefore is balanced, because you only get to assign each one each time. But it means that you can always have a go. The mechanics allow you to always try something, because the dice explode upwards. Okay. So if I'm rolling my D4 stat, let's say I'm quite weedy, but I need to break open this door. If I roll a 4 on the D4, I get to roll a D6. If I roll a D6, it will keep on going up. Right. Now, the math on going all the way through the D20 is really against you. Yeah. But still, the chance is always there.
I like the fact that it both explodes and flips to the next dice up as well.
Yeah.
Because often when you see exploding dice, you're capped at the die that you're rolling. So, in that D4 instance, 25% chance of getting a 4, and then you roll a D4 again, you get a 1, you're going, well, I'm not really any better off, at least with a D6, or a D6 going to a D8. It advances you in that regard as well, so it gives you a better sort of bounce on it.
Before you go on though, there is a kicker. If you let's say I'm weedy and I decide, I'm going to break open this door. there's a risk to me for doing that. So I'll roll my d4, and if I roll a 1, then I've got to roll that same dice again. If I roll another 1, then something mechanically bad has happened. And it will always, we advise the overseer, which is the name for the Dungeon Master, Games Master, we advise them to kind of allow someone to fail forward, and it's like an interesting fail rather than, oh, now you can never open the door and the game is over. But what we try to do is there's always opportunity with each roll, and there's always jeopardy with each roll.
Yeah, the door is open, but your shoulder is no longer in the socket.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about characters then? It's a modern game. Does that mean people are going to be playing relatively normal people, doctors, nurses, that sort of thing, or are there a bit more esoteric characters?
I'm smiling because you've clearly done this before, because you're asking the best questions.
That I love RPGs. So
well, there we go. It's not your first rodeo. So yeah, the idea is that you're playing very normal people. Now, it's a classless system, it's a levelless system as well. And so if you wanted to, and if fun for you meant, and we're going to roll up a party of monster hunters, and you can say, well, I'm ex-special ops and I'm a paramedic, and you could do that, and you could have like relatively kind of superhero style in there. But most of the people come and play the game, so, well, I'm a retired librarian that has 5 children, and we've got a beekeeper who's one of our pre-generated characters, and the idea is that literally the characters come into the game not realizing that these paranormal things are going on, and then it starts to become apparent, and the game is trying to challenge you to always have to collaborate. So you're not a bunch of superheroes that could all somewhat deal with the situation on their own. The opportunities to min-max are actually not really there in this game. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to play a game, but it's just not what we're supporting here. And so we're really trying to foster that sense of collaboration, because just like any human, I say that, recently I tried to build my own kitchen, and it didn't go very well, because what I really needed was a plumber and a carpenter. And the game is trying to do that anecdote and say, right, I need your character and their strengths to cover for my weaknesses, and if we work together both narratively and mechanically, we can succeed there. Whereas if we try and divide, we will probably fail.
I absolutely love the idea of this. 20 odd years ago, my own little group, we sat down to play one evening, and the GM decided, okay, I'm doing a one-shot. What stats do you think Jerry has? And they went, okay, he's quite fit. At that stage I was. Relatively intelligent. Maybe he's a cheeky git, so he's not particularly charismatic, but we started up everybody around the table, and then he went, okay, you're all here in front of me, we're playing this game, and then it went into a zombie horror, and it was what did we do as ourselves in that moment running through Belfast. And this sounds exactly like that sort of weirdness happening to ordinary people, which is just fantastic.
That's a great observation. Let me tell you something about the game, which I like. So it pepper pots between 2 states. One is what we call the investigation phase, which is quite considered, quite slow. Each round kind of it makes about 10 minutes, let's say. And so let's say you go into a house that you think is haunted, and you spend you can spend as much time as you want, being as procedural as you like or not, and you can discuss as much as you want out of character. Say, well, I'm going to go over here to set up this tripod of lights and whatever, or I'm going to go over here with my EMF, whatever it is. So quite calm, try to work out strategically how to do what we need to do. But then when an entity actually comes in your presence, we flip to the escalation phase. And the idea with that is 10 seconds. And so if you want to communicate out of character, you can do that, but you can only do as much as you can do in 10 seconds. And the idea is we're trying to have that play experience where, oh my God, the stuff is hitting the fan, and we can't talk about it calmly. We might need to run away, or we might need to throw things at a poltergeist or what have you, but we've got to do it quickly. And the mechanic is trying to kind of build in that sense of panic, because, we now no longer have perfect communication out of character. Yeah. And so the thing about you running through the streets of Belfast going, we're trying to bring that in there, yeah.
Absolutely love this. Is it available at the expo itself then, or is this something that's going to be coming later down the line? So
we released what we call the prologue this week. So it's available on our website for free as a PDF download, and we have physical copies here to sell. We sold the first one earlier on today, and so we call it the prologue because it's not the full game, but it's also more than a quick start. It's about 80 pages long, so it's got some meat to it. It's all you need to start playing the game. So it's fully featured, but the full game will be 250 pages. It'll have a whole lot more lore in there, the bestiary and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. If people want to find you here at the expo, where are you?
Great question. We are in Hall 2 at 951. Okay.
And if people aren't here at the expo but maybe want to grab the prologue, where should they go looking for that?
So we are at renegadestudios.com. I was pointing down there, but you probably can't see it. But yeah, so renegadestudios.com.
We will pop it below because it is a Renegade with a W.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Ren. Yes, very, very apt, very appropriate, very spooky. The spookiest of birds. Right, we're going to push on and see what else there is to see, but keep your eye out for this and possibly check out that prologue at home.
All right, folks, I have the pleasure of being here with the legendary Matt Leacock, and we're going to be talking about your new game, which is the Lord of the Rings Fate of the Fellowship, which takes the pandemic system and sort of plays around with it and has a little bit of a twist on that, which you have done in the past, obviously, with other games as well. But could you sort of take us through the process of how you came to be designing this, and also sort of take us through the design, well, the mechanics of the game as well? That'd be really awesome.
Yeah, how much time you got?
Loads of time. It's Lord of the Rings. I am here forever.
Okay, yeah. So I was offered the license by Z-Man years and years ago, and it was just kind of, so Lord of the Rings means a lot to me, and it's such a big license, such a big world, that I was a little overwhelmed by the thought. So I didn't jump into it right away. It was just so large. But about 3 years ago, I just started sketching some ideas.
Yeah.
I had the seed of an idea, and started sketching out maps, and eventually here we are, 3 years later. The game, one of the first nuts to crack on it was, so in pandemic, disease just shows up magically out of nowhere, and I did not want that to happen in this game.
Can't have orcs and stuff just popping up all over the place, I guess.
Right. So, but I designed Fall of Rome with Paulo Mori, and I thought, well, maybe there's some DNA there, some seed of an idea. But even with Fall of Rome, there's the long columns, and that didn't feel right either. So after some tinkering, I found a way to accumulate troops into armies and send those armies across Middle-earth in a very scary way.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy when I've got something really scary going on. So I had that going.
When Barad-dûr opens and everything pours out, you know you've got a good game. So.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The other piece was, in pandemic, you take direct flights across the board. And with the exception of eagles, which are over here.
Why didn't they fly them? Someone know.
This game answers it.
Does it? Oh, cool. Right.
Yeah. So there's an event card called Eagles. You can fly in the game, even if you're Frodo, to Mount Doom. You can do that.
Love it.
All the Nazgul will see you. They will all go to you, and they will search for you. And it's generally bad, but you can try it, and
give it a go.
You can win the game that way. It's just hard. But yeah, so I needed to solve the problem for traveling around, right, and making it interesting. And you want all of Middle-earth to be interesting and usable and have a purpose and integrated.
Because journeys are so integral to the story of the Lord of the Rings and anything that Tolkien wrote, you want to have that play through in the mechanics, I guess, yes.
Right, I mean, if you read the book, there is a lot of traveling, and it's by foot. There's some horseback, but it's mostly,
You get songs in here as well, occasional walking songs? Or?
Yeah, if you are Merry and Pippin, you can absolutely spend some friendship to give a song to recover.
Oh my lord, that's amazing.
Yeah, we played it this morning, and they actually did that in Mordor, and then Merry and Pippin took off. I solved that by actually giving every player 2 characters, because that activated more of the board, and it allowed you to actually have a true fellowship. Imagine a 2-player game where the Fellowship of the Ring was just 2 characters. It just doesn't have the same feel to it. And that solves so many problems. And it made for really interesting puzzles where, as you move from point to point on the map, you can bring other characters with you and organically form a fellowship.
Yeah.
But then there's so many threats on the board, you have to periodically separate, just like in the book.
So how does the typical game turn play out then when you're diving into this game?
Yeah, so one of the great things is if you're familiar with Pandemic, you understand the basic turn structure. You take 4 actions with one of your characters, 1 action with the other. And you can do them in either order. So you got kind of like an A plot and a B plot if you're thinking of movies. And then you draw your 2 player cards, and then you draw shadow cards equal to the threat rate, which gradually increases. The shadow cards are interesting because when you draw those cards, you flip them over, and you look at the top card of the draw pile, and it'll either show a red flag or a black banner. That's it. Yeah, exactly. It's either going to add a troop to an existing army, or it's going to march one of those armies toward the havens. So they kind of build up and then they march out. But that's the turns. Then there's fewer different kinds of actions in this game than there are in Pandemic. There's 6 actions.
And I guess do you have sort of like that sort of like end goal of, you know, tossing the ring into Mordor, but then there's like side objectives for characters as well, I think, as well at the same time, yeah?
Yeah, I would say about 2/3 of the way through development, I had the game working, and it was just about destroying the ring. But there was a risk there that it was going to feel like the same game over and over again. So I developed a objective system. So if people are familiar with Pandemic Legacy or even Rising Tide, have objectives. So in the intro game that we recommend, you have to attain the Blessing of the Elves. So essentially have a Council of Elrond. You need to break Saruman's staff and take over Isengard. And you need to challenge Sauron before you can destroy the ring. But once you've played that, there are 24 other objectives, and depending on the difficulty level, there's like a crazy combination of counterfactuals, like what would have happened if this happened in the game.
I really like the idea of that, because obviously you've got all of the replayability built into sort of like the core stuff that you would imagine to find in Tolkien's tale, but then you can also tell different stories, which is always fun to do in Middle-earth and all that kind of thing as well. I assume there must have been some really fun moments in development where you're like, oh my god, this has just clicked for me. Like beyond obviously the things you talked about so far, like massing armies and things like that. Was there anything else that was like, we've cracked it, we've done it? Sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, one that just immediately sprang to mind was like developing Eowyn and allowing her to actually take out the Nazgul, on certain combat roles. Was, I mean, everybody loved that. It's such a fun, unexpected thing to be able to do that. The capture rules, being able to like there are circumstances where you might be able to capture Minas Morgul, right? And that might make sense. Not all the time, but just being able to go to the Grey Havens and sail down to Pelargir. They could have done it. Why didn't they do that in the book? And you can do it in here and go like, oh, maybe that's why. Maybe it's not such a good idea.
There were too many Corsairs. That's why.
That's right. I mean, so you can like try out things that you wanted to, you might have wondered. But as far as development, it was just a steady march, just a gradual improvement.
And you say that obviously Tolkien and Lord of the Rings very close to you as well, and sort of like that world and all that kind of thing. I bet it was really fun sort of working with Middle-earth Enterprises and coming up with like ideas for the artwork and all that kind of thing at the same time alongside all of that. Yeah,
Z-Man worked closely with the artist. I'm trying to think who did the character art. I'm blanking on the name. You'll have to put it in the show.
We'll put it in the show notes.
It's the jet lag. Corey Godby.
Oh, there you go. Got it.
Corey Godby. He and I worked. I think this is the second board game he's ever done, and the first one he worked on with me. Yeah. Z-Man found him independently.
Wow.
And so I was so delighted when they picked him out. He's captured really the look. And working with Middle-earth Enterprises was very simple. I worked through the studio, and they had a second eye on everything. But yeah,
I gotta say, I love the little meeples. The little evil meeples are amazing for this, and all the little figures are fantastic for it as well. It's such a gorgeous thing to look at, which is always something you really want with a Middle-earth game, which I think is quite nice. Can people get their hands on this now, or is it coming out soon? What's the deal with that at the moment?
So official word right now is it's pre-releasing here. So if you're lucky enough to find it here, you can pick it up. And then it should be late summer, is what I'm told. Yeah.
And obviously, we're sat here at the Asmodee booth. People can come along and demo the game and have some fun with it as well, and sort of play around with the game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I think we've expanded now to 2 tables
it's all
to try
down there as well. Yeah, you can see it. Loads of people enjoying Lord of the Rings, which is the best way to have things. That's the best way to have things. I also want to point out as well, Shay, this, oh my days, how cool is that? If you don't, this is one of the best reasons to buy this game, as well as all the lovely artwork as well, and that kind of thing in there as well. But yes, thank you very much, Matt, for sort of talking us through Fate of the Fellowship. Absolutely really fun to see you doing more stuff with the pandemic system, sort of taking it in different directions and all that kind of thing. As I say, maybe you come down, you can see Matt. You're hanging around the booth, I think, as well. So
yeah, I'll be here every day in the afternoon. Yeah.
Brilliant, there you go. So you may even bump into the legendary Matt Leacock as well. So yes, we're going to move on. We're going to dive into more videos in the live blog and, of course, on the live stream as well. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Comment down below. Bye for now.
Hello everybody, I'm here with Tom from Goblin King Games. I know you're surprised, so am I, but we're going to be talking a bit about Moonstone, the multi-award winning Moonstone, and the whole new faction that was being teased last year is now out and available for everybody to have fun with. So, Tom, tell us all about the Fun Dead.
Oh, the Fun Dead, as coined by you, and that's caught on. The whole community loves the Fun Dead. So there's two sort of sub-factions in the Shades of Moonreach. There's Spirits, which is your ghosty ghoulies and your kind of hammer horror kind of style. And then you've got your Risen, which is more your zombies, rusty armour and that sort of aesthetic. And of course we've got the main man himself, the Echo of the Forgotten King, the big baddie. And of course his nanny, because he wouldn't go anywhere without his nanny. And she's followed along by the Babelings. So the Babelings are psychopomps. Psychopomps are these creatures of the Deadlands who serve to, who live, well, they don't really live, but they exist to serve the needs of the dead. So the nanny obviously desperately needs to care for something, so these Babelings have flocked towards her to just act babyish, so she's got something to look after in the Deadlands. Other psychopomps have all sorts of various other functions. So we've got the Tea Cake of Torment, who is there to be eaten, although he doesn't always super appreciate it. We've got the Terrible Musician, who likes to entertain people with music, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, they're a proper bunch of weirdos. The Freaky Fug Day box set with Jerry Eyre, the guy with the butt for a face for a butt, yeah. Rory, who's also a party planner, and Abracadabras, who goes around cleaning up the spare bits of body that fall off people and refashions it into new and exciting designs.
I mean, the Shades as a concept, undead is a fantasy trope that everybody understands, but the Hieronymus Bosch-like ideas of what the realm of the dead is within Tauber and is just so distinctly different from anything else. How did that come about?
Like a lot of these things, it was sort of wheedling away in the back of my mind for years. I was kind of thinking, I always loved undead. I've loved undead in other games, and I was thinking, we are known for being very fun.
Yeah.
So how do I make undead fun? And I also, I love history, and those medieval manuscripts that the monks did, with the
Marginalia.
Yeah, they're so hilarious. I thought this needs to be in a miniatures game, and what better game than the wonderfully whimsical fancy skirmish game Moonstone?
Makes an awful lot of sense to me. Now, that was a Kickstarter last year, funded a massive range to add the fourth faction, but you've recently released a couple of more boxes as well.
So we've tapped into another trope that I love and a lot of people love, which is pirates. So now we have undead pirates. So these, their release date was just last Friday, so they're absolutely brand new. And we got quite a lot of stock of them with us today. So if anybody wants some undead pirates, we've got Barnacle, the undead troll. We've got Commodore Delahaye, who's this kind of ghostly figurine that's got a hole through the middle of the miniature, which is really cool. We've got Chesapeake, who is a weird crab man. So you might notice amongst our shades, some of the creatures are just absolutely bizarre. If you go to the Deadlands and you choose to stay for a long time, you kind of transform and become more and more weird, like the psychopomps, the longer you stay there. So he was a pirate who's obviously died in unfortunate circumstances at sea, gone to the Deadlands, decides he loves it, and he's just morphing into this weird crab. He's been sucked back to the live lands by King Churnet, who's bringing everybody back from the Deadlands to come and kind of bolster up his armies. And then we've got Bridget, who is she's not actually undead. She's living, but she has an affinity for the dead. She can talk to the dead. So when a character dies in-game, she can now play their abilities, which is really useful. If your reanimator dies, you're like, oh, now I can just reanimate with her. So she's an awesome model. I think they're probably the nicest miniatures we've ever made, which is saying something. And they play really nice. They got a new play style. It's a dual faction box, so in Dominion you'll probably lean more into a load of pistol fire. It's very much about overwhelming people with pistols. In Shades it's more about using water features, combining with Sonara, our mermaids, luring people to their watery graves. They play slightly differently in each faction, but they're brilliant fun in both.
I mean, it is one of the beautiful things about Moonstone. The fact that you can get in there, you can craft a troop around a theme, so you can go, okay, well, I've got some pirates that may be slightly unalive, match them up with the pirates that are alive, and then you've got a very different set of figures on the table than if you just gone fully undead with the shades.
That was always the idea with these troop boxes. It's 3 models. A normal game might be 6v6. You can just smash 2 troop boxes together and it's going to work because there's synergies within each box. It tends to have a healer, a melee character and a support character. But if they visually look like they're going to work well, there's almost always some cross synergy as well. So just by adding on 1 more box set of 3, you can get a completely new playstyle out of the miniatures you've already got.
Yeah. It's a joyous thing, and people really should be playing more of it. There's also the campaign deck, if people are getting a bit into their Moonstone and want to link games together.
Absolutely. So we made a campaign deck a few years ago when we only had 3 factions. Obviously, when we introduced Shades, they need some upgrade cards for themselves and some tricks to play in between games that are uniquely creepy and shady. So we've made this expansion deck, which people can add on. It's fairly chunky, it's 56 cards. You can add it onto your existing campaign deck and it brings it all up to date, so there's an equal number of options for all of the factions. At some point in due course, we're going to produce a new box product which is the whole combined thing, but at the moment we've got this for people to add on to their previous decks.
Which is always handy, and I will be picking one of those up, yes. If people are here at UKGE, where can they find you?
We are Hall 3, right by the entrance to Hall 3. We're stands 901 in Hall 3, and you'll see our big banners, and we're quite easy to find. We're by the entrance to Hall 3.
And if they want to find the multi-award winning Moonstone online, where do they look?
If you go to www.moonstonethegame.com, and that's a launch pad, we've got an online store, there's loads of tactics articles, there's galleries of all of our miniatures, so it's a good place to start.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place to start, and if you want to get involved, you really should. You can even print and play, get the rules, get the cards, and get standees all on the website for free as well. Give it a go at home. We're going to push on and see what else there is to see here at the Expo. Bye-bye.
Hello there, folks. We're here with Warlord Games, and I'm here with Peter Gosling, Head of Product and Marketing at Warlord Games. And we're going to be talking about the big thing that you guys are sort of bringing here to the show this year, which is the revamp, the rebirth, the resurrection of Konflikt 47 in all of its various forms. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys have got planned for it, and sort of what people can expect when they come to the show to sort of learn a bit more about it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working on this for the last sort of 3 years. It's absolutely brilliant to finally be able to really bring stuff and show even more off. We've got loads of new plastic kits. We've got 4 new plastic kits. So we've got the Linebacker, we've got the Fireflies, we've got the Stahltruppen, and we have the Vogel Spinner as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So there are 4 new plastic kits that we're doing, so really showing those off. This is the first time that these have been on display. But we've got the new game that's coming out in Q4, so sort of September-ish, and that will go on pre-order in July. So everyone's getting people to sign up at konflikt47.com. Make sure they can do that. We can win everything that we've got releasing. That's really cool. But what we've done is we've taken this real weird World War II concept, and it used to be quite very similar to Bolt Action, but we said is to make sure that it's really, really cool and really, really weird war. How do we really weave all of that into the game? So we've completely revamped the game. So if you play Bolt Action, you'll be used to the order dice draw, used to pinning, you'll be used to the cover saves. But what we've introduced is a Rift dice, and that Rift dice allows you to power your Rift tech.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So all the big, lovely, glowing things.
Absolutely, that's it. Yeah. All the cool, glowy stuff and all the mechs, they have extra power. So you can spend that Rift dice, the power of that, you can exhaust it. It goes back in the dice bag. You bring it back out. So it's a little bit of resource management, but it really adds those abilities to create those real cinematic moments. The sort of cinematic moment that you'll play and your grandchildren's grandchildren will talk about, that game that great-granddad, you'd be like, oh, he told me about this amazing game of Konflikt he played. So
around the slurp dispenser rather than the water dispenser.
Absolutely, and the idea is that we just make it those moments that really stick in your mind and really, really cool. So heroes are massively important. So we talk about it being a game of heroes, horrors, monsters and mechs. And heroes are massively important. They can adjust dice, they can have special powers, they can influence extra things. So completely unlike Bolt Action, which people may remember it being based on, that's all gone.
Okay.
So heroes are massively important in the game, and we'll have some named heroes and they'll do various things, but we've got loads of content, we've got loads of cool stuff to tell everybody about in the coming months.
It takes you to that kind of like larger than life level that you would expect with a Weird World War style game.
Cinematic, and it's been a real key theme of what we do, and you can certainly see that by the table. All the stories, all the little narratives, all the little things going off, and that's just what we're trying to bring to life in a game.
Are there sort of core factions, nations still available from what people know from Konflikt 47? Or?
We've adjusted that slightly, so there's going to be 5 factions. So there's the Axis, which we've kind of rolled the Italians and the Germans all together into the Axis. Then we've got the Commonwealth, you've got the United States still, you've got the Soviet bloc, and you've got the Empire of Japan as well. So there'll be the 5 main factions. But what we'll do is we'll look to theme armies within those nations as well. So you might get really Walker-focused armies, you might get really monster-focused armies, things like that. So it'll feel quite different. You'll be able to theme those armies, and it'll feel like more nations than there actually are at the minute.
Are you doing it in the same sort of way as you did Bolt Action, in that you'll have some core lists in the main book and then separate ones later on, or is it?
Well, so we have a bit of we're kind of turning on its head a little bit.
Okay.
And at the minute, the plan is to keep those army lists separate and have them as downloads.
Right.
We just need to make sure that's definitely what we're going to do. But what I really want that to happen is, because if we're going to bring out, over the next 4 years, we've got supplements and other stories and other things to do. And what I don't want people to have is an army list in the book that is then superseded slightly by another book and then another book. So if we keep them as separate downloads, people have always got access to the latest one. We can get feedback from the community, we can update that, we can balance that, and it just becomes a little bit neater. But the core rule book will be set, and that's the plan at the minute.
And you guys have got some insane luminaries on board when it comes to game design and everything at the moment, haven't you? So.
We have. We're really lucky. A lot of us have worked with them previously for many years at another big gaming company that people are very, very obviously familiar with.
Ixnay on the name, eh?
Absolutely. So people like Andy Chambers, Gav Thorpe are on board. We've got Bill King, who people may remember from all of the Gottschalk and Felix.
He's doing the sort of narrative stuff, isn't he?
He's doing loads of cool stories. I read one of his little short stories about the Star Trooper, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. We'll make all of these things available for people to read online and everything. But we've also got a guy called Cam Rogers, who works in the computer game industry, and Roger Gerrish, who works with us quite a lot on games like Acton Panzer, and he's just worked on Iron Coffins and things like that. So we've had a load of internal playtesters, so all the massively passionate people internal have been playing loads of games every single week as well. So we're really, really happy that what we've got is a really, really fun, exciting, cinematic game.
And if people want to learn a little bit more about Konflikt 47 and they want to hear from you guys all about this, they can come obviously to the stand, learn about the game and all that kind of thing, yes?
Come and have a look at the table, come and talk to us. We will talk to you endlessly about this, plus all of our other products. But absolutely, we're massively excited to talk about Konflikt. We've got newsletters to sign up for. We'll send you all the latest information.
Brilliant.
People can win prizes, lots of other stuff, and we've got so much more to tell people. This is just the tip of the iceberg of everything we're
amazing
about. So.
And maybe we'll do some of this on tabletop in the near future. I think that'd be fun to play some games, I think.
Well, we'd love to come and see you. And
that'd be great.
Hang out, we'll play some games. That'd be amazing.
Amazing stuff. Thank you very much, Peter, for talking us through that. Konflikt 47 looking absolutely fantastic. I know a lot of people in the community have been very excited to see where you guys are going with this one, and it's already sounding amazing. New plastic kits and all that kind of thing is always a big win for us. Make sure to come and check out the big mech as well. You can just see it here. We'll have some photos of it, so don't worry about it, Rob. It's okay. We'll get it on camera, and obviously learn a little bit more about the rest of the things that you guys do as well. So Bolt Action and all that kind of stuff as well there as well. But yes, Konflikt 47. Can't wait for that. Check it out later in the year on OnTableTop as well. Watch more videos over in the live blog, and of course, watch the live stream. And we'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye for now.
Hello everybody, I'm here with Fabio from Loot Studios to take a look at Malediction. So do you want to tell me what we have here in front of us?
Yes, hello everyone. So Malediction is a miniatures card game. It's Loot Studios' first game ever. And well, in my mind, they went all in. And in Malediction, where I'll quickly run through the lore, then gameplay, and then product, I think. So in Malediction, we're playing as seekers who are going into the mists of Malediction to try to claim relics to take back to their factions. These relics are powerful and game-changing, and they're not just objective tokens. You actually pick them up and use them in the game. So when you play the game, you first choose a seeker, which is the leader of your warband, and then you have to build a deck of 30 cards, and that deck has to be with cards from the same faction as your seeker. We have some seekers that are more than one faction, and they can bring in different cards and create new strategies. And what I find interesting from Malediction, different to most other miniature war games I've seen, is that instead of deploying all your units up front and then your opponent doing so, and then round one I move all my units, then you move all your units, and then nothing happens. Here you deploy units as you play their unit cards. Also in your deck you have spell cards, so your opponent doesn't really know how many units or spells you have. And so in subsequent rounds, you not only can deploy in your deployment zone in the corner of the map, but you can also deploy 1 inch from any unengaged unit you have on the battlefield, meaning that your subsequent units are already deployed in the fray of battle. This makes it a really fast-paced game. It takes less than an hour for 2 people who have played it at least once. You also have 2v2 game modes, and we already promised a 2v1 game mode called Nemesis, and we're coming up with more and more stuff. There's expansions that are coming, but I'll get back soon to that.
So can I ask you a quick question then? It's a deck-based game, so how much of the mechanics run off the deck? Is there a set of sort of like a card phase where you play your cards, you cast your spells, you summon additional creatures and seekers in, and then you flip to the miniatures on the table, or is it more interwoven than that?
Okay, so the game is set up into 3 phases. The deploy phase, where you deploy units and attachments and items on them. Then the action phase, where your units activates, and that is the phase where you can play spells. And then there are many different types of spells. So you have swift spells, which you can play at any moment, even in your opponent's turn, even interrupting an action. And channel spells, which are limited to 1 per unit activation. So I activate my Seeker, then I could play a channel spell, then it's your turn, I cannot. Then I activate my little grunt guy, then I could play another channel spell. And then in the end phase, it's when we see who claimed the relics and husks in the battlefield, which are the objective tokens in a sense. So the main part of the bulk of the game is in the action phase, but what you do in the deployment phase matters a lot. Even though there are no spells there, that's when you play the unit card. But then when the unit card kind of permeates through all the phases, right? Because in the action phase, you need to exhaust them to play them. They generate action points and so on.
I have a quick question then. We were talking about the product itself. There's some really spectacular looking miniatures here. Did I see Malediction as it was like a deck with tokens and then STLs?
Okay, good question. So when you buy Malediction, like I said, a deck is 30 cards, but you buy a faction box and it comes with 84 cards. Sorry, 15 of those are the relics, which are like the objective items. But so 60 something are, so you can, there's a lot of customization. And then you get a QR code that gives you ownership of the STL files for all the miniatures in that box and all the terrain for that faction as well. So, for example, and it's always 5 terrain STLs, a large, a medium, and 3 small. Here on the table today, you see a large and a small. And I think it's 26 miniature STLs, so meaning you can print as many as you want. But there's in the box, there's a punch board cutouts for all the terrains, and there's standees for all the models, meaning you can play out of the box. What people really seem to enjoy from the feedback we've been getting is that sometimes when you buy a starter box, it's not a starter box in this case, it's a faction box, but when you buy a box, sometimes you only want half the miniatures and the other half is just there. And so now you can try out with the standees, kind of find your strategy and then print exactly what you want. Because sometimes, even though you can have up to 3 spellbound Bohigojins in your army, maybe you just want 1, right? Another thing is we have no twin brothers or clones. Okay. So if you can have up to 3 spellbound Bohigojins in your army, that means that we have 3 poses for it, and you own all 3 of them, right?
Which is fantastic in and of itself. And I suppose when you're talking about starting off with a 30 card deck, printing out whatever you need if you happen to be printing it, or using the standees to begin with, and maybe, like you say, there's something in there and you're going, well, I don't see a use for that now, but maybe down the line somebody gets another faction that has a seeker that is dual faction, and they go, well, all of a sudden that model is better if I'm using that seeker and I can bring it in that way. So there's a lot of expansion and deck building / list building with that.
Exactly. I believe that you'll be hobbying into Malediction as you game it, right? So as you progress in your game experience, you'll slowly, eventually print and paint all of them.
I think that's the way most people end up going anyway. Once they get STLs.
And currently we have 4 faction boxes, right? That's already over 200 cards, so that's a lot of content. But we are already working on and planning for future expansions. Really, the plan for this game is that it lives a very long and healthy life, right? Our Game Found has already closed. We're already in the final stages of production. But once again, on the back end of game design, I can say this as head of games, we are already working on future expansions. We have a plan for the next couple of years, and we are revising rule books, doing FAQs. We are very, very active on the Discord, on our Malediction Discord, so check us out.
Do you have somebody doing the background? Was Margaret Weiss attacked?
Oh, you mean like the lore? And yes, we got Tracy Hickman to do the lore. That's the creator of Dragonlance.
It was one of the 2 Dragonlance. I knew in the back of my mind, but yes, that which is fascinating in and of itself, because when a new game is trying to launch, having somebody who is so involved in the fantasy genre, writing the background, writing the lore, gives it a lot more depth that a lot of companies struggle at the beginning to actually have that sort of depth of a world behind it as well.
Exactly, and Tracy did a lot of like the start of the world building and the heavy lifting, but we have a dedicated lore team, which I find awesome, really. And so then they keep doing the maintenance, right, and creating the unit lores and so on. So when we create anything, the game design team, the graphic design like arts and sculpting team and the lore team, we all work together to create something that is coherent, really always thinking about the future of the product. So everything has a backstory. There are many, many secrets that into these models that like we already know and that we're gonna like slowly trickle down. And I'm very excited. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about Malediction that I will soon.
Well, there you go. People will have to keep their eyes peeled for this. Where can they find you here at the Expo?
You guys can find us at Hall 3A at booth
259.
Booth 259.
There we go. And if people aren't here at the Expo, where should they look for you online?
They should look for us at malediction.gg. They can also check out the Loot Studios website if they want to see Loot Studios as a whole. And you can also check out our Discord. There's a QR code here in the flyer, and at our booth we'll have also a QR code. And finally, really, if you want to try Malediction out for free, check us out on Tabletop Simulator. There's Malediction official mod, all the cards and everything is there. There's a built-in tutorial that teaches you how to play. It's like a scripted tutorial. And then you can also, on the malediction.gg website, download 2 free pre-supported STL miniatures for the Valkyrus Priest and the Tarok Beast, meaning we believe in our product. The rulebook is online and free as well, so you can just try it out, and we know that once you get a taste, finish the end of the deployment phase of round 2, and you'll buy Malediction. I trust it.
That's a bold statement, Cotton. Let's see how that one pans out. Definitely worth checking out. The figures look absolutely superb, and I'm really fascinated to see where it goes and the lore that builds up alongside it as well. We're going to push on and see what else there is to see here at the Expo.